What is going on, guys? Money Webby here, back again, week 5 with my favorite DFS picks of the week. Some guys that have great matchups, really good value at their price tags, and should be on your radar for this 12-game slate. So before we get going, I mentioned last week how I'd give away 20 bucks to one of you guys that are subscribed and commented down below, but we weren't able to hit the like goal to initiate that giveaway. So I'm going to re-propose it to you. Let's see if we can hit it this week. I'll bring down the like goal to 300. We were close to 300 last week, so let's see if we can hit it, as it really helps me out with the likes, and I can give a little bit back to you guys for showing some support to the channel. So to be entered into the giveaway, all you got to do is subscribe to the channel. Be sure to leave a like in the video and comment down below who do you think will be the highest scoring player on this 12-game slate. So, for example, if you comment Big Ben will be the highest scoring player, and if he is the highest scoring player, then you'll probably win the money as long as you're the first person to comment on the video and if you're subscribed and stuff like that. But if someone comments before you, then you won't be able to win the video, sadly, as they're the first person entered with that person. So maybe if you don't want to enter the same name as someone else, you can be a little bit different as you kind of read through the comments and stuff like that. So that's how you enter into the $20 giveaway, to give a little bit back to you guys, as the support has been great. So definitely do that. Like and subscribe. And definitely subscribe if you want to get these NFL DraftKings picks and just DFS previews every single week for the rest of the year. We do NBA DFS picks here too, and that's coming right around the corner. So yeah, let's just get into the plays though. Quarterbacks, first up, the game that's going to be really popular is going to be Big Ben and Matt Ryan here. So I think you can't really go wrong with either of those guys. It's going to be a really good game here. Probably a ton of points. They're implied to have 57.5 points total here. That's the highest on the slate. And both these teams run fast-paced offenses, a lot of plays. So like I said, you really can't go wrong. But I'm going to take the $300 savings and go with Matt Ryan first up here in this matchup. He's looked really good over the last 3 games, 32, 43, and 31 DraftKings points. So very consistent, very effective, averaging over 10 yards per pass. So really good stuff. And that Calvin Ridley, bringing in Calvin Ridley in the draft, he's extremely good. He's opening up this offense a lot. They got Sanu, Ridley, and Julio Jones, a 3-headed attack, and Pittsburgh has a tough time enough stopping one wide receiver. So I think he's going to be able to have a huge passing game again here. And their running game hasn't been too great without Freeman. They've been struggling to run the ball, and Freeman might be back this week, but if he is back, I would expect him to be kind of eased in a little bit and not be able to see his full complement of snaps and touches anyways. So against the Steelers defense, over the last 3 weeks, they've allowed 366 yards per game. So that's a ton through the air. So I think Matt Ryan could go over 30 DraftKings points again here in the shootout. So that's my first play. Like I said, Big Ben's really good as well, but I'm going to take the $300 savings and probably a little bit more of a good matchup, as I could see the Steelers kind of running the ball a little bit more with James Conner and having some success there. And I could see just the Falcons passing the ball a little bit more. So that's my first quarterback. And then next up, Kirk Cousins. This matchup is really good for this, his upside again here, where they're going to have to be passing the ball a lot because the Vikings can't run the ball at all. Dalvin Cook, less than 100% with this hamstring injury. Their offensive line has been pretty damn bad in the run blocking category, and this is the worst matchup they can get to run the ball as well, going against the Eagles, who have been really good stopping the run. So I think the Vikings are going to be airing the ball out a lot here, probably around 50 pass attempts again. They've already had 50, 55, and 48 the last 3 games, so there's no reason to think why that would change, especially in this matchup going against the Eagles. So there's a lot of upside just based on the opportunity for a lot of passing yards and a few touchdowns again here. And he's looked pretty damn good with these Vikings wide receivers. Diggs and Thielen have been creating a lot of separation for him. So at $6,000, a nice little price tag for another guy that has 30-point upside. So that's my second quarterback. And for my third guy, more of a value here, Blake Bortles, a really good matchup going against Kansas City, one of the worst defenses in the league. They can't cover anyone. They can't stop anyone on the ground. So I think the Jaguars will be able to move up and down the field pretty damn easily. And Bortles is having quietly a sneaky good year. 2 out of the last 3 weeks, 28 and 36 drafting points, and that Jets defense isn't too bad, so that was really impressive. I didn't see that game coming, honestly, but this is probably the best matchup he's had all year. I mean, the Patriots defense, it has been pretty bad, but they're not too bad. I mean, this Chiefs defense is honestly worse than them. So I could see Bortles going over 300 yards again here. And without Leonard Fournette, they kind of open up the offense a little bit more. They get more involved with the passing to like D.D. Westbrook and T.J. Yeldon out of the backfield. Kind of go like a little bit more shotgun and a little bit more loose of an offense. So I think Bortles will have a longer leash here to get it going, have some more upside. And he does have some rushing ability. I mean, he's had over 20 yards on the ground every single week. And the Chiefs, they're going to add a little bit of a new dimension to this game. Like, the game flow could be a little bit different. Normally, the Jaguars have been up by like a good amount, and they kind of just been dragging out the game because their defense has been so good. Like, they've only allowed 12, 9, 20, and 15 points. So against this Chiefs offense, though, they're averaging 36 points per game. So I don't see how the Chiefs don't add a little bit more of a fight to this game, make it a little bit more close. Like, the Chiefs honestly could get up in this game, and Bortles could throw the ball around 40 times. So, like, a new dimension to this game. They're going to want to keep Kansas City off the field, so I think they're going to have some prolonged drives and just has really good upside in this matchup. To get around 25 to 30 DraftKings points at a nice price tag. Great value at $5,500. So that's my last quarterback. You got Bortles, Kirk Cousins, and Matt Ryan, all really good matchups, really good upside, and things should definitely work out for them on this on the slate. So those are the quarterbacks. And now for running back, I'm going back to the well with Melvin Gordon here. Had a really good game for me last week. Good for 33 DraftKings points, and the same thing remains. He's just very active in the receiving game. He got 10 targets last week against San Fran, and they were leading the whole entire game. And he's going against another terrible run defense in Oakland. They've been allowing 139 rushing yards per game. That's the third worst in all of football. And also they're allowing 5.6 yards per carry. That's the second worst in all of football. So the run defense, one of the worst in the league. And the Chargers, they have a nice, healthy, point total again here this week, implied 29.5 points. So I think Melvin Gordon could reach around 30 DraftKings points again here. He's hit that total 3 out of the first 4 games. He's just super involved, like, around any kind of situation where he's going to produce fantasy points. Like, in the red zone, the guy's getting a lot of targets, a lot of touches in general, so he can score a good amount. And he's just so involved in the receiving game for a running back, which is great for PPR. He got 7, 6, and 9 catches 3 of the first 4 games. So 8,600, honestly not a bad price tag with how consistent he's been. And against a Rams defense, he honestly did pretty solid. It's just that the Rams kind of had the ball for so much longer and limited their play count for the Chargers offense. But against Oakland, the Oakland's offense could struggle a little bit, and the Chargers should have a good amount of plays here in this game. So that's my first running back. If you want to pay up, Melvin Gordon is the guy for me. And for my second option, I'm looking at David Johnson. I'm not sure why he's priced so low, but at 6,300, we know he has the ability to have one of those breakout games, and I think it could come here against San Fran. Probably his best matchup to date this year. They've been allowing a ton of rushing yards and just a ton of fantasy points to running backs. And also another area of his game that hasn't really been untapped, I think, is the receiving game. I mean, he's only had 5 catches at the most against Washington week 1. I think he could get a little bit more involved receiving here, going against San Fran, who's allowed the second most receptions to running backs on an average of 8.75 per game. So David Johnson could like flirt with more of like 6 to maybe even 7 catches in this game. And also with Josh Rosen finally starting at quarterback, they're going to be allowed more plays. Like with Sam Bradford, they were running like the worst amount of plays per game, like around 40 to 50. That's just not enough for David Johnson to get a good amount of touches. But now that they have the ball a little bit longer, some more sustained drives with Josh Rosen, he's going to be able to get over 20 touches probably again this week. He got 25 last game against Seattle, and this game should be able to stay close where he's able to keep the ball on the ground, get around 20 carries, maybe around 5 catches or so, and he definitely has the ability to get in the end zone as well. So at 6,300, a really good price tag. We know his ability. We saw it just 2 years ago. I mean, like, this guy can get it done against any defense, and this is a really good matchup going against San Fran. So at 6,300, really good value as my second running back. And for my third running back, TJ Yeldon, I think he's going to be pretty damn chalky going against Kansas City, as we just saw them on Monday night. Couldn't tackle a soul. Royce Freeman is kind of bouncing off everyone. They were tackling with like one finger, it seemed like, in every single carry. But TJ Yeldon, I think he can get it down to the ground, have like a healthier yards per carry than he had last week against the Jets. As Kansas City has one of the worst run defenses in all of football, if not the worst run defense. I think they're allowing 5.7 yards per carry. So I could see TJ Yeldon getting like 15 carries for around like 60 to 70 yards, and then adding in like 4 to 5 catches for around like 30 to 40 yards. And he definitely has the ability to get in the red zone, or I mean the end zone as well. So at 5,600, I'm guessing he wasn't priced like Fournette was out, but still, if he was too cheap here, I think he should be valued around like 6,000, even 7,000 in this great matchup. The Jaguars could see more points scored in this game like they did last week with 31. As this Chiefs defense is just really bad, and they're going to be keeping the game a little bit more competitive than what the Jaguars have faced most of this year. So really good value, a ton of touches, a good amount of snaps with Fournette out. Probably should see around like 70% of the snaps in this game. So really good value there. That's my third running back. So if you want to pay up, you can definitely go to Melvin Gordon. If you want to go with some more mid-range value, David Johnson and TJ Yeldon are definitely good choices. Now for cheaper ones, Derrick Henry here at 4,400. This is the week where he's going to get it going, if any week. So at 4,400, he hasn't really done anything at all this year, but most of these games like haven't been kind of situations where they've been able to kind of consistently run the ball, and their offense was kind of limited with Blaine Gabbert in at quarterback and Mariota with that nerve damage in his elbow. But it seems like he's getting better. They were able to kind of open things up a little bit more last week against the Eagles. So with that in mind, I think they'll be able to run the ball a little bit better here. The Philadelphia Eagles run defense is probably the best in the league right now. So that was a really tough matchup for him. And now against the Bills, the Bills have been allowing a good amount of rushing yards and just a lot of carries to running backs because they've been down so much. So I could see Derrick Henry honestly getting northwards of like 20 carries in this game, as they should be up. And normally when they're up in games, Henry sees the majority of snaps and just carries. And he has the ability to be a red zone guy as well. He's a big body back, and he's been pissed off at how bad he's been playing. He came out and said that last week. But against the Eagles, that wasn't really the game for him to break out. I think this is the one against Buffalo where he can finally kind of put a game together and see a good amount of touches just based on the game flow and them being up probably in this game against Buffalo. So at 4,400, like I said, if there's ever a week to do it, it's going to be this week for Derrick Henry. Could see around 100 yards and a touchdown there at only 4,400. Also, Aaron Jones is another guy I was looking at 4,300. He's looked really good, getting a good amount of yards per carry, 7 yards per carry, and 5.9 last week. So I think he could see a few more snaps again. Possibly get closer to 15 touches in this game. This is another run defense that's really bad in Detroit, and it should be a very high-scoring game. So that's another cheap guy if you want to attack him as well. So those are the running backs. I kind of went through more of my tiers, as I kind of have some pricey guys at wide receiver again here. So I wanted to mention some cheaper running backs if you want to go cheaper at running back. So for my first wide receiver, though, I'm looking at Julio Jones. I think that's a really good pairing with Matty Ice and Julio Jones this week. I mean, his target share has been great. He's been getting around 32% of the targets so far on the year. It's just that he's not finding his way into the end zone. But this could be a week where he gets it done, and even if he doesn't, he still could get like 30 DraftKings points, like with another huge game where he goes like 10 for 150. And this could be a little bit of a grudge match. Like Julio Jones and Antonio Brown have kind of had that little tug of war for the best wide receiver in football title. It's been pretty much Antonio Brown over the last like 2 years. But Julio Jones has been making a good case for it this year, despite not finding his way into the end zone. So this is the matchup, though, where he could get it done. I mean, he has to do it eventually. 29 catches for 500 yards. I mean, that's more than 100 yards a game. He's covering a whole football field every single game, and he's not able to get in the end zone. So eventually there has to be some positive regression there. But still, like against Pittsburgh, one of the worst secondaries so far this year, And they've been beaten deep a good amount of times. Like, even though he hasn't been very good in the red zone kind of situations, he could get like a 50-yard touchdown in this game because Pittsburgh has been allowing a good amount of like just like 30+ yard touchdowns to guys like Mike Evans. John Brown got one for around 30 yards. Tyreek Hill got a long one, I'm pretty sure, like a 30-yard touchdown. And also Sammy Watkins had a few 30+ yard catches. So Julio Jones can definitely find his way into the end zone and rack up around 10 catches again here and get a ton of yardage. So at 8,500, still has a huge play upside and a huge point potential, even if he doesn't get in the end zone. But if he does, he's going to be dropping a huge game. So that's my first wide receiver. And next up, Stefon Diggs. Really good matchup against the Eagles. They've been struggling a lot against outside wide receivers. And Diggs, he's putting together some big games and easy matchups. Like against the Rams last week, he didn't see Talib, and also Peters was less than 100%. So he had some good matchups there. Was able to make the most of them, 11 for 123. And another solid matchup against Green Bay, went 9 for 128 with 2 touchdowns. So he has that huge upside. And against Philly, going against Darby and Jalen Mills on the outside, they've allowed the 4th and the 6th most yards in coverage out of all cornerbacks. So if you pair that together, if Diggs he's going to see one of those definitely on the outside. So I think he's going to be able to beat those guys. Just on average with those two, with Darby and Jalen Mills, they're allowing on average 141 yards per game. So Diggs, he's going to be the big target getter on the outside. So I could see him easily getting over 100 yards again in this game and finding his way into the end zone as well. So I could see another like huge game here. Definitely has an upside. And like I said, the Vikings are going to be throwing the ball a lot in this game as their running game has been terrible and the Eagles' run defense is so good. We saw Corey Davis go off last week against this Eagles defense. So that's my second wide receiver. Another pricey one, but still, I think he's just a better value than most of these guys in the upper $7,000 range. And even like the $8,000 range besides Julio Jones. So that's my second guy. And for my third guy, more of a value here, Doug Baldwin. I think this is gonna be his coming out party here, going against the Rams. Last week, they were kind of keeping the ball on the ground a lot. Mike Davis got over 20 carries. But in this game against the Rams, they're probably not going to have much success running the ball. And also, I could see them getting down by like a touchdown even more in this game. So that means I'll have to turn to the passing game a lot more here. Russell Wilson only had like 27 attempts last week. So I don't see that happening. And Doug Baldwin had a solid target share as well. He had a 27% target share last week. So if you kind of project that out a little bit more, some more passing attempts, he could easily see over 10 targets, get around like 7, maybe even 8 grabs in this game against Rams secondary that is depleted a little bit. Their slot cornerback, Nicky Roby, whatever his name is. He's a weird last name. Can't think of it at the top of my head, but he hasn't been great in coverage. Thielen won for 83 yards in the slot last week. So Baldwin can definitely have a good game here. A positive game script likely here in this game. And he looked pretty damn healthy last week when I was watching him. He had some good routes, and he played the majority of the snaps. And this is another week for him to kind of get a little bit healthier during the week. Some more rehab, some more practice reps, and he should be good to go. Close to not if like right around 100% here in this matchup, and they're going to need him a lot against the Rams here. So at 5,000, really good matchup and value. If you just consider like Doug Baldwin over the last couple of years, like he's been a top like 15 wide receiver, and you're getting him in a good matchup here at only 5,000. I think this is the week where he gets it done. So that's my third wide receiver, and for another value, VALDES-SCANTLING here for the Packers. It looks like Cobb and Allison could both be out of this game. So that means there's going to be a good amount of ownership, I would imagine, of VALDES-SCANTLIng based on that, because it just opens up so many snap opportunities and just targets in the Aaron Rodgers offense. So at 3,300, I mean, the price is amazing. You can save a lot of money to be able to go and get like a Julio Jones at Diggs with that pairing. So I could see him getting around like 7 targets maybe in this game. Allison has been really good as the wide receiver 2 here in this offense, and I think VALDES-SCANTLIng has the talent. He looked pretty damn good in college, and he should be able to avoid Darius Slay as well in this matchup. Like Slay should probably shadow, I would guess, Devontae Adams. That would make the most sense for me in this matchup. He did shadow Pierre Garçon in week 2, so if he did that, I could see him easily shadowing Devontae Adams here. So a really good price at 3,300 for VALDES-SCANTLIng here, and he had a good amount of snaps, I think, last week after Allison got hurt. So he's going to be the guy that can definitely step in and have a huge game here. And we also saw Geronimo Allison go 4 for 91 with a touchdown against the Lions last year when he was kind of an afterthought in this Packers offense. It's just that Slay kind of does take away the wide receiver one. So I could see Valdes-Scantling definitely stepping up here in a really good matchup. So that's my final wide receiver if you want to go value. And now for tight ends, on that same wavelength there, Jimmy Graham definitely has some more opportunities here in this game to get some more catches and definitely can get a touchdown again here. So he didn't get huge upside because he only had 21 yards, but they really didn't need that much out of him because the Bills put up a goose egg, so they didn't need to pass the ball too much. But this game, I think, could turn into a shootout between the Lions and the Packers. So Graham could see like closer to 8 targets and have kind of a similar game to what he did around against like the Washington Redskins and what he did against the Vikings. Have like a 5-catch game, and he can definitely get a touchdown. So like if he gets like 5 for 60 and a touchdown, that'll probably be a top 5 finish at tight end this week. Tight ends have been really gross, and especially on the slate, a good amount of them aren't on the slate. Like you don't have Gronk, he's not even playing. Jordan Reed's on the slate, so tight end very thin, and Jimmy Graham definitely has good upside this week with the matchup and just the wide receivers banged up on the outside for the Packers. So that's my first tight end, and then Vance McDonald here at 3,700. He's looked extremely good over the last 2 weeks, and he's getting a good amount of targets. He got 5 and 5 the last 2 weeks, and he's making the most of them, and he's running a good amount of routes. Now, the Steelers' offense has been extremely pass-heavy, one of the most pass-heavy offenses in all football over the first 4 weeks. So I could see him having another good game here. The Falcons linebacker core and safety core has been absolutely depleted due to injuries, so they're very weak. We saw Tyler Eifert go 4 for 38 and a touchdown in 2 quarters last week before getting hurt. So I could see Vance McDonald finding the end zone, getting around like 5 to 6 grabs here again, and a nice little value at 3,700 and a shootout, which is definitely likely between the Steelers and the Falcons. So that's my second tight end. And then David NJOKU here at 3,400. Going against the Ravens. The Ravens have really good outside cornerback play. They're getting Jimmy Smith back, who's a really good cornerback. Brandon Carr looked really good in coverage last week against the Steelers. So that could funnel some more work into a guy like NJOKU, who got 7 targets last week. Had a pretty solid game, 10.2 DraftKings points. And he definitely could be used as a red zone option here in this game as well. So at 3,400, a nice little value. And just like I said, there's not many options to go to at tight end this week on the slate. I would think Zach Ertz is definitely in play. But I did mention some more kind of expensive guys at other positions, so I probably won't be paying up for tight end, but if I did, Zach Ertz would be the guy. So Jimmy Graham, Vance McDonald, and David NJOKU. I would definitely favor McDonald and Jimmy Graham, though, but David NJOKU still is in play, but I feel more confident about McDonald and Jimmy Graham. And now for defenses, I'm going to go a little bit cheap here again. The Bengals defense first up against the Dolphins. Their offense hasn't been looking too good over the last week against the Patriots. I'm not really sure what they were doing in that game. They look really out of sync. So I think the Bengals defense, they are getting Burfict back, I'm pretty sure, from suspension in this game. So that can definitely help them at the linebacker position. And they have some good ability to get some sacks. I could see them getting around 3 or 4 sacks here again in this game. And their defense is pretty solid. I mean, they have some solid cornerback play. With William Jackson and Burfict. That's kind of one of their only weaknesses right now is the linebacker play. So like I said, with Burfict back, that will definitely help. So at 2,700 against a Dolphins offense, which I would say is below average, that's a good spot for them. And in my second defense, the Arizona Cardinals, San Fran. I think Bethard is definitely not a good quarterback. He can be sacked a lot. He kind of holds onto the ball and tries to run with it too much. So he can definitely entice some sacks with this Cardinals pass rush, and they definitely have the ability to get a pick or 2 off him. He threw 2 picks last week against the Cardinals, who haven't been too good on defense over the first couple weeks. So the Cardinals, honestly, their defense hasn't looked too bad over the last 2 games. They've gone a few sacks. They got a turnover, actually 2 turnovers against the Bears. But the Seattle offense was just really kind of neutral or kind of safe. They were just running the ball and throwing like some shorter patterns, so it didn't really get as many turnovers. But if Arizona gets up in this game, I think Bethard could turn the ball over like 2 times, and they can definitely get those sacks. So at 2,900, a defense that should be angry. They're 0-4. I mean, like, they're gonna have to fight for a win eventually, you would think. So this is a matchup where they definitely can get it done here and turn it up on the pass rush. Their pass rush is pretty solid. Chandler Jones and some of those other guys they have in their defense. So that's my second defense. Another cheap, actually not the cheap option. We're going to be going up to the Titans, actually. I forgot I wrote them last, but still, I mean, if you want to pay up on defense, I think this is definitely a good spot to do so. The Bills, they got sacked like 7 times last week against the Packers pass rush, which isn't very good. And the Titans pass rush looked pretty damn friggin' good against the Eagles, who have one of the best offensive lines in all of football. So that's really definitely a good thing to consider going in. I think they can get a good amount of sacks against this Bills offense, which has been allowing a lot of sacks to defenses, and they can definitely get up, force Josh Allen to throw a pick or two here in this matchup. So they have some good upside. And yeah, I mean, the Bills offense is pretty damn bad, except when they face the Vikings, I guess. So the Titans, really good play at 4,000 as my final defense. But I would probably prefer paying down at defense with the Bengals or Cardinals if I was going to do so myself, because there's so many good, like, high-priced guys, like I mentioned, with Julio Jones, Melvin Gordon, and Matt Ryan and stuff like that, where I'd want to save on defense. But that is it for the Week 5 plays. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, be sure to drop a like on the video before you head out if you want to get that giveaway over 300 likes, and I'll give away $20 to whoever guesses the highest scoring player first. So be sure to leave a like, subscribe to enter into that, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe to continue to get these videos. You can follow me on Twitter at MoneyWebby for maybe any kind of questions you might have on the slate, and I might tweet out some other things as the week goes on if I see some other guys that kind of catch my eye. And yeah, that's it. I mean, I also upload my GPP, my tournament plays on Friday, so be on the lookout for that. And like I always said, good luck this week if I don't talk to you again. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you here again next time.